All right. So, in tonight's seed, this is going to be an exercise on routing. And to go along with that, there are three main areas that are incentivized aside from turning in the NPC items. So the king obviously is going to give us a key item to progress. The princess is going to give us a key item when we rescue her. All of the fetch quest turn-ins are going to be vanilla. So turning in the crown is going to give us the crystal, and the crystal is going to give us the herb, and so on. So what that means is we have 3 incentive locations, and there are going to be exactly as many incentive items as there are locations. So today we have the Ice Cave, we have Ordeals, and we have Marsh Cave. Now obviously we still have all the incentive items at like the vendor and the robot and waterfall and stuff, but those are going to be the extra incentives today. To round out the incentive pool to make sure there are exactly as many incentive items as there are locations, we have the white shirt added to the pool. So it's entirely possible that when I fight the pirates I could get the white shirt, or maybe the king or the Princess Sarah will give that to me. So the white shirt is out there. That is going to be a good item to have that is not required. And the tail is going to be out there to find that, again, is something that is really, really nice, but not necessarily required. So what that means is we're going to have some opportunities, if we can narrow down where tail and or white shirt are, that we could opt to try and prioritize speed and potentially skip some dungeons. So with that in mind, what are we going to be looking for? So as we're going through the early game, it's going to be very important what the king and Princess Sarah give us, as well as the pirates. From one of those, we really, really want to see the canoe, so that way we can go down to Crescent Lake and turn in, talk to the sages to get our next incentive item. Can I link the flags? Yeah, sure. I will go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and add this to the title. So that way anybody that's watching either now or later can go ahead and see that and have access to it. I'll give that to you guys. Well, you know what? Actually, here, I'll give you guys the link straight to the website. So if you want to go check that out, that'll tell you exactly what I have incentivized and exactly what locations are incentivized. Seed and flags. Okay, so that should now be in the title, or not. Seed, flags, here. Update. Oh, you see it? Okay, well, for whatever reason it wasn't showing up for me, but as long as you guys see it, that's the important part. Okay. So another decision-making point about routing. So given that our incentive locations are Ice Cave, Ordeals, and Marsh Cave, what kind of levels should we be when we're going to go to those dungeons? Marsh Cave and Ice Cave both have a wide variety of enemies, which makes them pretty dangerous in the randomizer a lot of times. But Marsh Cave is a little bit shorter than Ice Cave. Could you explain why you need the white shirt? So, the way that I remember it, if the fetch... so, looking at the treasure tab, let's look at that for a second. So, with the main NPC items checked in the item shuffle, that means that the loot and the ship and the rod, those are the main NPC items. So with main NPC items checked and main NPCs checked, that means that there is one extra item in the incentive pool as opposed to the locations that are accessible. So typically, these are what we would call Swiss-like flags, where you have main NPCs as both a shuffle and an incentive location. When you have Swiss-like flags like this, if you have the tail incentivized and 2 locations incentivized, the math should work out such that there will always be an even number of incentive items and incentive locations, meaning that you know where you're going to need to go to get your key item progression. So on the Duckling Acing seed from last week, the bottle was in the ice cave, right? So that was an unintended side effect. We would call that a loose item, meaning that it was in a chest randomly in the world as opposed to in a incentive location. So because we have 3 checked incentive locations, Ice Cave, Ordeals, and Marsh Cave, we need to add an item to the pool in order to balance out those locations versus incentive items. So it's not technically because of the free bridge, it's actually because of the locations. Bridge is weird. I have heard it said from the devs that bridge is never going to be in an incentive location, and I trust them on that. They would know far more about that. So technically the bridge should never be in the incentive pool. So the free bridge shouldn't play a big role on that. But with 3 incentive locations and tail and white shirt incentivized, this should balance out such that I should be able to know where all of the incentive items are going to end up. Does that make sense? So it's either add an item or... Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yep. Hey, Falconic, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Alright. So... Ice Cave, Ordeals, Marsh Cave. What do we need to be able to go to those locations? So, Marsh Cave, we're going to need either the canoe or the ship to get access to. And I would recommend being at least level 8, if you can, before trying to go into Marsh Cave. What would happen if you didn't have that balance? Is that where the bottle and ice sort of thing comes from? Yes, exactly, Farron, Coldwind. If we had more locations than items that were incentivized, what that would mean is I could talk to, like, the king or Princess Sarah, and they could give me gold or a weapon or armor that's not in the incentive pool, just something random. The game says, hey, I have an extra location, but I don't have any incentive items, and the game says, that's okay, here's this item that was supposed to land in a chest, we'll just give you that. So if you have more locations, you'll get what we call a zonk, which is an item that you, like, probably don't want. Like, it can be good. It could be anything in the pool, right? So it could be a ribbon, or the Mazmune, or a katana. So it could be a good item, but it could be something that, yes, the dummy item from Monday's race. That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Farron. On the other hand, if there are too many items that are incentivized and not enough locations for them to fall in, that's what leads to the situation where you have, like, the bottle and ice cave, where it wasn't incentivized, but that's where it landed. Okay. So, again, Marsh Cave, we're going to need either the canoe or the ship to access Marsh Cave, and I would recommend being level 8 or more if you're going to go into Marsh Cave. For Castle Ordeals, we'll need ship and TNT and canoe, or we will need floater and canoe in order to access Ordeals. And again, I would recommend about level 8 or so before you start considering Ordeals. Ordeals is a fairly short dungeon, and especially if you have Warp, you can get through there without too many issues. Ice Cave is probably the most dangerous of these incentive locations for attempting in the early game. It has a lot of enemies, it can be very long, and particularly if you don't have the warp spell, it can be very punishing if you have to do the full 2 loops for the incentive location. Excuse me for just a second. Okay, so what level would I recommend for Ice Cave? Depending upon what magic you have. If you have things like Fire 3, Nuke, Lit 3, Harm 3 or 4, Fade. If you have spells like that, and you have like Warp, maybe some healing magic, Exit, you can start thinking about Ice Cave as early as level 8 to 10. Typically I would recommend probably 10 to 12 though, to really start looking at Ice Cave. Unless you have particularly bad spells for Ice Cave, like you only have like ice magic available or single target spells for damage, I would recommend putting off Ice Cave if you have a particularly bad spell list until like maybe even as late as 15, depending upon where spells land and what you need to have access to. Now that being said, your party selection can impact that, but these are kind of general guidelines. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's not like you have to be that high of a level to go into Ice Cave. Sometimes it's going to be an easier dive than other locations. You never know. But just bank on Ice Cave being dangerous, Marsh Cave being a little bit less dangerous but still annoying, also a little bit shorter, and Ordeals probably being the quickest and easiest of these 3 incentive locations. So with that in mind, how are we going to plan for our early game? So we know that once we kill a Garland, we're going to get an incentive item from the princess, and we're going to get an incentive item from the king. So you almost always want to go ahead and go kill Garland first. There's really not very many situations where you can't do that. So I would always make that a priority. After that, I will likely be looking to go over to Provoca, get myself level 2 magic, get myself another key item from Bicky and his Buccaneers. Again, I believe we have progressive XP on. No, we do not have progressive XP on. Okay, so that's actually a strong consideration here. Progressive XP is not on. So getting key items is not going to give us bonus experience points. It will always be 3.5x plus 60. So if I don't feel like I can tackle incentive locations, I'm not highly pressured to prioritize key items. So say I have access to Volcano or Ice Cave that I could do, maybe that pushes me to do Volcano instead of Ice Cave, because I'm not going to get extra experience for gold. There could still be a very good item in Ice Cave, like maybe the floater's buried down there, but if I don't feel comfortable with my levels and my gear, maybe that's a reason to put it off. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to have one forced party member, and enemies and bosses scale up to 150% stats. Progressive scaling on for this seed. No, Hypus Nova, that's what I was just mentioning. There is no progressive scaling, so extra key items do not give extra EXP and gold. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go see what our first forced class is. We have a black belt. Not my favorite class, but a very strong class in the end game. Because stat scaling is only between 150%. Well, it's what, 67% and 150%. I don't feel like I really need to prioritize leveling up a black belt. So I will probably let my black belt die. And this is a teaching moment. We haven't covered danning a character or letting a character die in order to funnel experience. So my plan here is that I'm going to leave the black belt in the front row. Because the black belt takes so much experience points to get to level 32 or level 42, where the black belt really starts to shine, I'm going to rely on the weapons and armor that I find for a fighter being better than a black belt. So in this case, I'm going to let my black belt die, and all of the other characters will get additional experience points. Normally, when you're assigned experience points in Final Fantasy 1, that experience point total is divided down into all of the characters. So let's say a fight awards 1,200 experience points. If you have 4 characters alive, that 1,200 experience points gets divided 4 ways. So each of your 4 characters would get 300 experience points. Pretty good. If you have 1 character dead when the experience is awarded, that 1,200 is instead only divided 3 ways. Now you're getting 400 experience points on the 3 characters instead of 300. If 2 of your characters are dead, that experience is divided 2 ways, so you would get 600 for both of those characters. And if you survive a fight with only 1 character alive, they would get all 1,200 experience for themselves. So this is kind of why you see some runners do strategies where they will intentionally let a character die, and the rest of their characters from that point on will get more experience points as they're going throughout the game. That's also the reason why if you see someone leveling up a black belt, they will very commonly, even if they are running a 4-man party, let 2 or 3 of their characters die and get as much experience as fast as possible on that black belt. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take our fighter for a tank. And I love the versatility that Red Mage affords. He's got good offense. He has the potential to learn life and spells like exit. So I'm going to take a Red Mage. And to round out my party, I'm going to take a Black Mage, someone dedicated to offense. Now, kind of the advantage that I like about this party, between having a fighter, a Red Mage, and a Black Mage, because remember, we're going to be killing off the Black Belt, so we can basically ignore his presence for talking about strategy here. This is a very offensive-heavy build. The fighter is going to be able to provide that late-game killing power for bosses, while the Red Mage and Black Mage are going to be able to provide early-game sweeper spells in order to be able to progress through dungeons very quickly. Red Mage, of course, also going to afford a little bit of healing and utility outside of combat for things like exit, maybe some status healing magic, although it's not very common that we'll pick those up. But it can be good in a pinch. Particularly, I can think of like if soft potions are very expensive, but the soft spell is like level 2. That's a good opportunity to consider picking that up. So without further ado, I think we're ready to go. So remember, we're going to go ahead and we're going to prioritize going quickly along with this routing. So we're going to see if we can't do this very quickly. So we're going to go to Black Magic first. We're going to get whatever offense it is that we're going to be able to need to sweep through the early game, whether that be Kill Garland or some AoE spells for the pirates, maybe Quad X, something like that. So those are the spells that we're going to be prioritizing. After that, we'll take a look at the white magic. We may or may not have money to buy the white magic, and if we do, then we'll pick up whatever's there. If not, then we're probably not going to worry about it, and we'll just make a mental note for what we need to come back for. Alright, so 3, 2, 1, go. So, black magic today holds not good magic. Okay, this is unfortunate. So now we have to start considering what can we do to actually kill Garland. So A-Fire, A-Ice, Mute, Cure 3. These are terrible level 1 spells. So what do we do in this situation? So I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to pick up Stun. What Stun does is Stun functions very much like Quad X. If an enemy has 300 or fewer hit points and is not resistant to status magic, it will inflict the stun status guaranteed on them. So we're going to rely on Stun to land on Garland, and then rely on our melee weapons to be able to take Garland down. This is something that you have to be prepared for sometimes, in that you won't always have good magic in the early game. So this is one of those opportunities where we have to consider what our options are and figure out how it is that we're going to get through the fight with Garland. Another thing to consider is With only having stun available, it may or may not be a good idea for me to go check these outside chests. In this case, we just found a Bane Sword, and now we actually have all the offensive potential we need. Bane is going to absolutely carry us through the early game. Not picking up Cure 3, or is it class locked? Cure 3 was in the White Magic second slot. That is normally the harm spell, and can only be learned by White Mages and White Wizards. Adrian, hey Shadow, how is the... Oh, Madron, you're such a tease. How you doing, man? I hope you're having a good day. So here we're going to go ahead and throw out Stun, we're going to throw out Bane, and we're going to start swinging away to do some damage on Garland. Unfortunately, he gets the sleep spell off of me, and that's not very nice. Not very happy about that. Oh, and I just used the wrong item. Okay, so this is going poorly. Part of it's my own fault for using the wrong item there. I really need this Bane to land. There we go. Poison Smoke terminated. Garland is down. Unfortunately, Bill didn't get experience points for this fight. It's a little bit of a shame, but we killed Garland. Okay, we now have the canoe and the rod. Okay, so the canoe tells me that I'm going to go ahead and continue with my initial plan to go to Provoca and go take out the pirates. I got the Bane Sword, which means that I'll be able to use that as my sweeper. Pirates are very likely going to just die in one hit to Bane. Heal potions, we're going to take a couple of those. Soft potions were very cheap. Pure potions were very cheap. We're going to go ahead and pick up a good number of these. Killed Bill, you... Hey! Hey! No, I didn't mean to kill Bill. I brought him back. It's not my fault, man. Garland decided that the party needed to get lit, and I wasn't very happy about it. Alright, so... there are technically 3 chests that we could go ahead and pick up at Matoya's Cave. And if I had a cabin, maybe I would think about going to pick those up. But really, the situation... We're going to be going back to Matoya's Cave later, because we're going to need to turn in the crystal to get the herbs, so that way we can go ahead and revive the elf prince. And because of that, I'm not very interested in going to Matoya's now. So that way I can go ahead and do that all at once. I can worry about picking up that those items when I'm going through there already. Walk to Northwest Castle. No, Specty, you can't make me. I won't do it. Well, what they can make me do is fight these stupid wolves and gerwolves and whatnot, because this fight's unrunnable, so unfortunate. Somebody hit Dan. Somebody hit Dan. No, somebody hit Dan. Dang it, hit Dan. Okay, so here, we're going to go ahead and give them one more round to try and kill off Dan for me. And it looks like they're not going to do it. Poison smoke is bad for your health. It is, but it's worse for my enemy's health. Alright. So now we're going to go take a look at level 2 Black Magic and hopefully find ourselves a sweeper spell that's not on an item. Quad X. Okay, so again, we're gonna have to use some out of the box strategy, right? So Quad X is a very good spell for killing single targets, but it doesn't do anything against a group of enemies. Cure 2, Fog 2, Harm 2. Okay, so that's a sweeper spell against undead, but again, it's not really what we're after here. So I'm gonna pick up Quad X, I'm gonna pick up Temper, and I'm gonna go ahead and pick up Cure 2. Because I do want to have some healing magic on my red mage. Friends don't let friends rely on the Bane Sword. Who chose the seed? Farron? Well, I rolled the seed myself, so I do have no one to blame but myself. But this is okay, because I will be able to show you guys what do you do with some not normal, some non-standard spells, right? So we've got, well, we don't have any charges to confuse, so that's actually out of the question. Okay, well, not great, but again, I guess we're gonna go all in on this Bane Sword strategy here because we don't have any charges of level 2 confuse. Almost thought you were gonna say some garbage seed. Ah, nah, it's fine. I'm actually totally okay with all of these. It's a little different for sure, but I am not opposed to using some off-the-wall strategies when I have to. Okay, so there's our tail. Oh, that is wonderful news right now. Houses and tents are both super cheap. So houses are really, really good news, because that's going to let us restore our spell charges as we're going on the river. We're going to be relying on Quad X to take out Hydras, and probably running away from most other fights. In the way of armor, I'm going to go ahead and pick up this iron armor for my fighter. I'm going to pick up copper for my mages. So that way everybody has a little bit of absorb. Early tail is in fact nice, since we're not using the black bee. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, we'll still need the floater before we can actually use that tail, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and go down to Crescent Lake, and we're going to see what our item magic is there, or what our key item is from the sages there. So that's going to be our next priority, because if it's the floater, then we get to go fast, and we get to get out of the inner sea very quickly. If it's not the floater, we're going to go to Elfland and then to Marsh Cave, because Elfland has to have some sweeper spells for us at this point. It would just be absolutely insane if Elfland had 2 more levels of just nothing magic. And this is very annoying. I really wish that one of these guys would succeed at running away. Okay, level 5 for Bill, so now he'll have level 3 spell charges. Yeah, Marsh Cave is you, but unfortunately that's pretty much where we have to go at this point. So I'm mostly taking this fight because I got the ambush on the enemies, because of the fact that they're going to have to just sit there and take the damage that I deal for 1 round. I would much rather use that opportunity to take that fight than a fight where they have the opportunity to hit me back. Here we're going to go ahead and throw out some Quad X's, and this Hydra should go down in a single round. Very good. Why Marsh, and why not taking at least the Armory? So I could take the Armory. The reason Marsh over Armory, because I don't have great magic to be able to clear out the Volcano Armory. I have Quad X, I have Confuse, so I have some magic that could get me through, but not very reliably. Certainly there's a lot of chests on Armory B2, and if I'm going to check it out, I would like to be able to do it all at once, and I just can't do that with the things that I have available here. So here we're gonna hope that Giants have 300 or fewer hit points, and see if we can't Quad X them. On the other hand, Marsh Cave has an incentive item, and has a chance to be the floater, and it's going to be a faster, shorter dungeon for me to get through and be able to do it all at once. Actually, the floater is right here. Okay. Now scratch everything that I said, because we're going to go to Volcano Armory, even though we don't have the spells to necessarily be able to do it reliably, because I would much rather get that floater and get my move on than sit around in the Marsh Cave when I know that I could be going faster. 40,000 is a little bit expensive. Yeah, I hope I get 30k at least, exactly. So 30k is a little bit expensive, but it's not too bad. It's pretty common to see about 30k or so in Volcano B2, and if worse comes to worse, I could always take some giant fights or something like that along the around the Crescent Lake area. So here we have cheap houses, remember, so I don't need to be super conservative with my spell charges. Unfortunately, Bill just died, and we don't have any way to revive. I should have taken that giant fight right there. Return the slab. Do you then instantly go promote? Yes, exactly. When do you promote? With this party, Fighter, Red Mage, Black Mage, there's no reason not to promote as soon as possible. Particularly, we want to get that Fighter promoted before level 15. Level 15 is when I start learning spell charges on the Fighter. So I want to be able to get those as soon as possible once it becomes a Knight. So if I can promote by level 14, I will feel very good about my situation. Worst Bane Sword rolls ever. Terrible. There we go. That's a little better. Better to promote earlier for anybody not using Black Belt. Exactly, Hypes Nova. The sooner I can promote, the sooner I get access to the endgame gear, the sooner I have access to all spells of a given level that a class can normally learn. So it really is better to be promoting as quickly as possible. Okay, so here that last Karib fight took me just a little bit too long. We're going to go ahead and still throw out Bane, but I'm going to Bane run rather than worrying too hard about trying to kill everything. And that is mostly just to be able to thin the herd as I'm going along, than to feel like I really need to take the fight. There we go, getting level 9 on everybody. That's very good. I'm going to go ahead and use a house just for safety, and time to clear out armory, and hope that we get that 30k. That's a good chest for money. So again, giants are really good for money, so I want to be able to kill those. So this is a fight I want to take. And the fact that they die to Quad X means that they're basically free. Our Hydras are another really good source of experience points, and generally don't have too many hit points. Again, dying to a single Quad X, and that's extra EXP and gold for all my people, so very happy about that. Yeah, JLo, I hadn't even actually looked and seen the fact that it was unrunnable. I was completely ignoring that command because as soon as I saw the two giants, I knew I wanted the fight. So Peds are normally really good. I'm going to avoid them just because I'm running low on spell charges. Unrunnable Grey Worm, that's a bit annoying. Okay, so I know it has 300 or fewer hit points though. So if I need to fight Grey Worms, I can throw out a Quad X and take them out instantly. The fact that stun landed and is now paralyzed is really good news. The stun status reduces, negates any evasion that an enemy has. So now, if an attack thrown by one of my characters misses, it's because the hit percent roll didn't land. Any evasion that enemy has just does not matter when they're stunned. Ice Armor is really good news. That's going to give me protection against fire magic on my knight. Hey, look, a ship. That's not going to be very useful because we already know where the floater is. 27k, that's getting up there. I'm going to go ahead and check these top two chests here. Or at least this one. If I get like 2 or 3k from this chest, I'm done checking chests. 300, not very good. I'm going to run around here as opposed to stepping on the trap tile in front of that chest. only because I know it is a fire trap tile, and I am not keen on taking a fight with fires right now. And people talk about Bane actually being really good, and this is why Bane is so good. In the early game, enemies have such low MDef that they're going to more often than not die from the Bane spell. So Bane is going to be able to carry me through this early. Oh my goodness, mucks are not our friends. Okay. That is a key item, not an incentive spot. So, yes, the ship is a key item, not an incentive spot. But the difference here is that the ship falls into the other key items category and not the main key items category. So the fact that it was in that non-incentivized spot is normal. I would always expect to find the ship in a non-incentive location unless I have other incentive items checked on. Mainly because you don't need ship for progression. Yes. In almost every circumstance, you don't need the ship for progression. If it is a ship or is a seed rather, where it is like ship and TNT, the ship will be accessible in a loose chest. It will be in a loose chest, but it will be accessible. So it does get countered into logic, but it's not what it's just because it isn't considered in that main key item category. And that was a really nasty punch from that giant. What a jerk. Well, I guess we just keep going. I don't have a huge choice about it right now. Yeah, I like that rude, JLo. It's nice. Okay, so this is my last Quad X, so now I really want to be able to run from any fight. I don't want to have to take anything. Please, no mucks. Well, of course, Bane worked on the one that I stunned. There we go. And we're almost out. So I was intentionally taking a few extra fire tiles there. Oh, we're so close. Taking a few extra fire tiles there because anytime I'm walking on a tile that has the lava, I am not going to take damage from that tile. Or I will take damage from that tile, but I will not have a chance to get into a random encounter on that tile. So it is safer for me to take those single points of damage from walking on those tiles than it is for me to risk running into mucks as I'm getting near the exit and getting zapped again. Okay, so now I'm getting level 13. So this is about perfect. I'm going to be about the perfect level when I actually get out of here and get the floater to get up to Bahamut with that tail. Probably don't need to take these Hydra fights, but I'm going to go ahead and take them anyway. They are good sources of experience points, and it's not going to take me too long to get them out of the way. Alright, now we get to pick Bill back up. And we have plenty of money for that floater. And now we get out of here. Okay, so we're going to hit up Sarda first, just because it's kind of on the way to the Cardia Islands. Then we're going to turn in the slab to Dr. Un. We're going to get that translated real quick. And then we're going to go up to the Cardia Islands. We got the bottle, so then after that we're going to go ahead and get our Oxyale and our Chime. Excuse me. So again, I'm trying to route in as many things as possible. So because Sarda and Dr. Un were on the way, I'm routing them in. Because I have the bottle and the slab translated, I'm going to go ahead and do both of those at the same time. Because I have the tail, I'm going to go ahead and check that and Cardia Islands all at once. So any of these things that I'm doing are going to save incremental amount of time. So all of the things I can do at the same time are better. What's with these bad spells? Well, fortunately, we are going to be able to check Elfland next, and hopefully we'll finally have something good in our spell book. I'm not too disappointed with the spells that I have. They are good spells. I can put them to use. It's harder to use them. It requires a little bit more specific knowledge about how the spells work. Knowing that stun requires HP 300 or less, and no immunity to status, and Quad X working the same way with death magic. The plus side that life spell is in the normal location and learnable Red Wizard. Yep, J-Lo, unfortunately it means I'll have to go back there after getting class changed, but when I do Earth Cave, I will pick up life at level 5. And again, that's because Melman is right next to Earth Cave, so I don't want to do that until I'm going there anyway. Move, dragon. Thank you. Out of the way! Alright, doing a little bit of equipment shuffle there. Just putting some better armor on the knight. Banesword does swing for more damage than a saber. I would sure hope so, given how quickly you find the saber. But it is better, so we're going to use it. That Thor hammer. Finally, we have a real source of AoE sweeping magic. We're going to throw that over on the Black Mage. Alright, hate getting a red mage that can't learn either light spell. Yeah, JLo, that is one risk that you take when you're running with a black mage, or a red mage rather, is that you won't be guaranteed to get access to those life spells, which can be a bit of a bummer. Lit 2 at level 7 is just way too high. We're never going to cast that. Can't learn Ruse on the red mage. Again, it's also level 7. Probably just not going to cast that ever. Chain armor, pro rings for 12k. Pro rings at Gaia, that's vanilla. What else we got here? We'll pick up a few more houses while we're here. A few more heal potions just to stock up. after we do... I'd rather have warp before doing ordeals, but it's probably not going to take me too long, and I'm already in the area, so I'm thinking about doing ordeals while I'm here. In fact, I'm going to. I'm going to bank on doing ordeals while I'm here. What are we going to do after ordeals? After ordeals, we're going to go to Elfland and pick up our level 3 and 4 spells. Because at this point we really need some actual sweeping spells to be able to get us through some of these areas. Again, this is why Quad X is such a good spell. It's a guaranteed kill on these giants. Tyros are nice. Don't punch my black mage. Quad X is so good, why didn't they make Quintex? Sprite limitations. They can only fit so many characters in a string, you know? Gotta stick to a convention, Specty. Alright. So now we've gotten to Lefane. We're gonna go ahead and get our chime. Do I want to go straight to ordeals? I should go straight to ordeals. I'm in the area. It's gonna be out of my way to fly back here, so I'm gonna bank on being able to get through the maze without too much difficulty and not needing warp. Overlooked it until Edgeworth just dominated with it. Yeah, Quad X is a really, really good spell, and when I was playing, when I was younger, Final Fantasy 1, I didn't realize just how powerful it was. I think I had seen it kill an enemy or two here or there, but it always seemed to be ineffective, and I didn't really understand why. And once it was finally pointed out that, oh, it's HP based, suddenly it made a world of sense, and it opened the gates for that to be just an amazing spell in my book. So I'm very happy to have learned exactly how that spell works. Yeah, exactly, J-Lo. And the fact that in the randomizer, it's not going to be level 8 every time. So by the time you are able to cast Quad X in the vanilla game, it's basically a useless spell. Plus it shares a charge with Nuke, and Nuke is just better in almost every situation. And again, that doesn't make Quad X a bad spell, but it makes it unviable in vanilla. This is not the dungeon that I said I was going to go to. I do not have the cube, and therefore that would be a little bit silly to go there this early. Not that I couldn't dig out Mirage 1 or Mirage 2 while I'm in the area. Get a good bit of treasure chests and experience points. But again, we're trying to go fast. We're trying to prioritize getting around and doing progression. And I'm not going to be able to progress by just checking Mirage 1 and Mirage 2. Alright, so the Pillar Maze. Pillar Maze is going to be shuffled, so top. And I always remember if there's two, it's either top or bottom, and then there's the room with the 4 pillar mazes, and I labeled them 1 through 4. So top 1 down, top 1 top. Okay. So top. Top 1 top. Top. And we're through. There we go. So, again, this is why Ordeals is one of those places that makes a lot of sense to go to early, because Ordeals does not take very long. If you have a system for knowing the Pillar Maze, and particularly if you also have Warp, you can get through the Pillar Maze very, very, very quickly. No, let us run away. Come on. Let us run away. Stop killing my Black Mage, darn it. I mean, it's largely because he just has Copper Bracelet, which is very bad. But hopefully we'll be able to get some real armor for that Black Mage soon, and stop taking so much damage. Opal armor, or Opal shield rather, very nice here. We're going to switch that light axe over to the Red Wizard, who unfortunately can't equip it, but that'll give him something to do in combat against undead. We do find the cube. What does Warp do in Ordeal? Sends you back to the last tile. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it does. It sends you back one floor. So if you take what you know to be the wrong pillar, you can go back up a floor and save yourself the time from making the round trip to get back to where you were. It's the same reason that you can use Warp in the in the ice cave, in the hole between the three chests that normally has the incentive chest, and warp right back there after doing the first drop down to get those three chests. What does Bono do in Ordeals? Bono is Cure 4. Don't you remember? Maxes out a character's hit points. For anybody confused by Romulus' statement, last night we had a very special stream where we were trying out a proof of concept idea that was given to us by Wote. And we had a ton of fun trying to figure out what exactly it was that our spells did. Alright. We're almost there. There we go. Alright, time to go to Elfland, time to pick up that Black Mage, get our level 3 and 4 spells, hopefully finally have some sweeping magic. That would make me very, very happy. So at this point, we now have 2 dungeons left that are incentivized. Fire 2, Brack, Warp. We're going to check White Magic before we pick up any spells on the Red Mage, because if Fate is available in White Magic, that's going to change what I pick here. Life 2, is that Red Mage learnable? It is not. It is also not Knight learnable, right? Right. Okay. Cool. So Red Mage is going to have life. Okay. So we're going to pick up the same spells here. We're going to pick up Fire 2. We're going to pick up Brack, and we're going to pick up Warp. So at this point we have 2 dungeons left. We have Ice and we have Marsh that could both have the. No, we don't want to resurrect Dan. That could both have the either white shirt or the rod. Oh, I guess actually technically waterfall. We haven't done waterfall. Okay. I think while I'm in the area, I might go ahead and do. So if Red Wizard can't learn it, Knight cannot also. Yes, exactly, Specty. I believe that is true for all spells that that the Red Wizard learns. Okay, so there were. My sweeping magic in the first 5 levels is Fire 2. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so we're gonna pick up Bane. We're gonna pick up Zap. We're gonna pick up Hold. This is the seed for using non-standard spells, apparently. Okay, so I can learn exit. I can learn harm 4. I can learn heal 3. No, I can't learn heal 3. Okay. Harm 4 and exit I can learn. Let's pick up heal 2. So heal 2, harm 4, and exit. So this is a point where you want to knock out dungeons or go to somewhere that isn't a fiend dungeon like Waterfall. That is a good question, and part of my answer is that I am in Elfland now, which is right by Marsh Cave, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, particularly because we just picked up Warp and Exit. Those are going to be very fast clears. So basically the only chest I care about here is the incentive location. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight down to the Wizard Crown chest, and we're going to pick that up, and we're going to get right out. Do we want to check any chests along the way? Well, we know that Mucks have Zap, actually, so we shouldn't be checking any chests along the way. Or at least not chests that are out of our way. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to pick the 2-2 chest, because there are 2 chests in this room. So we're going to check this room, and then we're going to go to the one below it. Specty, I don't have a command set up for flags. The flags are in the title. Seed and flags. No bot, you have 10... I do need a bot. You're right, Specty. I do need a bot. Alright. What else are we going to check? We're going to check... Gosh. So depending upon what our key item is here. If our key item here is the rod, we're going to go over to Melman, and we're going to pick up life, and then we're going to do Earth Cave. And... oh my goodness. So many chests. So many fights here. If we don't have the rod here, we're going to go to Crescent Lake, and then we're going to go to... a place. Ice Cave. I already got rod. So I did. Okay, so what's left? The 3 incentive items that are left. We know that we're going to find the crown, the loot, and the white shirt. I think I don't have loot. Loot, crown, white shirt. Yes. Okay. Move bat. So actually, if this is anything other than the white shirt... okay. So we're going to do the crown chain while we're in the area. Just to get that out of the way, because we're going to have to get the Mystic Key. So we're going to do that. Do we check any crown chests? We're probably going to check the Mystic Key chests in Elfland Castle, just because I'll already be right there when I get the Mystic Key. Other than that, my gear is looking okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. But again, we're prioritizing trying to go very quickly, so I would rather focus on doing places that I have to go. So after getting the Mystic Key, we're going to go check Crescent Lake to see if there was any AoE magic there. Then we're going to go to Melman to pick up life, and we're going to go after that to Earth Cave. Okay, Opal Armor's nice. Where's our ribbon? So one item I always want to find in order to feel safe is a ribbon, and so far we have yet to find a ribbon. No, I don't want to cast heal, I want to cast exit. The ruby, we got the ship. Okay, so we're getting decent items. We've got decent armor for absorb, but we don't have anything good for resists, really. We really would love to see a ribbon. I mean, I can always go buy pro rings up at Gaia, so that's not the end of the world. Well, that'll work, I guess. Oh, I can't learn Fade. Nose. Sad day. Does anybody remember how expensive life was? Because I think that I don't quite have the money to buy it, which means that I'm going to do Earth Cave before I pick up life. Life is the ultimate price. True enough, Romuluses. But, everything can be bought for a price, so, you know. Because I'm still on the lookout for a weapon, and because I'm still on the lookout for a really great endgame sword, I want to go ahead and check a couple of the chests here in Earth Cave. Unfortunately, there aren't great areas in Earth to be able to check for density. Adamant. Okay, well, there's an endgame sword. Do I check Titan while I'm up here? You know what? We got the ruby. We got the ruby. We can check out Titan. It's possible that there's something there, and those 4 chests are not fast, not very long to check, so that's a good idea. We'll check out the Titan while we're here. No, not Quad Axe. We want a Fire 2. So Fire 2, while not a very strong elemental spell, it will be able to sweep out the undead that's going to be here in Earth Cave, so that's at least some good news. I could check the room that is just above where I got into this encounter. There is a single chest in there, and it doesn't take too long to get. The only big problem with it is that there's an earth fight in the way, and I don't really feel like checking, and don't really feel like fighting through that earth fight. Let's have an async with a key item, Titan locked. See how long it takes for people to find it. So it is very difficult for us to kind of plan for something like that to happen. I mean, we could go through a whole bunch of seeds and just check. I was not being very cognizant of my hit points there. That black mage did not need to die. I absolutely could have and should have healed him up. But yeah, we don't really do planned things like that, where it's like, oh, there's going to be a key item in this one location that's really annoying, and you're going to have to dig for a really long time. We try to avoid things like that, partially because there's a lot of work that would go into procuring a seed like that. Not necessarily like making the flags or whatever, but it would be a lot of testing of different flags to check for, or testing different seeds to check for that to happen. Okay, so here I'm warping back a floor just to save myself a couple of steps for encounters. It is faster to go ahead and warp back and walk back down the floor than it is to walk all the way back from the top of those 5 chests. Oh, Earth Cave is so annoying. So on this floor of Earth Cave, the center path is the fastest to take. Come on. I get it. You guys are jerks and you're blocking my path. So unfortunately we didn't find anything too great in Earth Cave, but Lich is a pushover, so it won't take us long to kill him. So, you kind of see as we've been going through here, I've pretty much stuck to the plan. We had talked about how Ordeals is the fastest and easiest of the incentive locations to check out. That's the one that we ended up going to first. We talked about our decisions about why maybe to consider going to Volcano Armory versus not going to Volcano Armory, and then of course we immediately saw something from the seed that changed our mind. But a lot of the time, the biggest thing to note, particularly about routing, is to go in with a plan, and it is generally a matter of just executing on that plan once you've figured out what it is that you want to do. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go to Titans real quick. From there, we'll go ahead and hit up Volcano, since we're kind of in the area. Or should we do Waterfall and Sea Shrine? Let's do Waterfall and Sea Shrine, actually. We could use some levels. Titans, you holding anything out on us? Just a bunch of gold. What a jerk. Oh, ambushed by a bunch of time wasters. What level do you feel you should be around now? Speaking of levels, so it's not so much a consideration of what level I should be around now. It's a consideration of what level I should be going into Temple of Fiends, and then kind of reverse engineering that from where I'm at. I have 2 high experience areas left to go through, so I'll probably get, I would guess, about 12 levels through Waterfall and Sea Shrine and Sky if I take good fights. I'll probably get about that many levels, just because I am looking at the experience numbers that we've got. And if I add 12 levels onto where I'm at, it puts me in the upper 20s, looking towards level 30, and that's a good range to be in for Topher. With 150%, I would honestly feel comfortable in Temple of Fiends Revisited, probably as low as 21. Well, maybe I'd want a few more levels than that, because I'll still have to be able to survive spells like Nuke that are going to be in the Fiend pools. So maybe I'd want to be somewhere around level 21 to 25 to feel comfortable. The bigger issue is beyond levels. I still need a ribbon. Particularly a ribbon for my red mage, so that way I can rely on him being able to survive spells like Bane or Zap as we're going through and killing the Fiendry fights, because he's the one that we have the life spell on. The other issue is that we still need an endgame weapon. Oh crap, we got the adamant, so we need to go turn that in for Excal. Yeah, ribbon for the person who casts life right up until probably Kraken 2. From kind of Kraken 2 on, it's more important that I put the ribbon on the damage dealer. Because worst case scenario, I could probably get through the final 3 fights with just a high level knight. Whereas if I don't have a way to actually kill things, I could be in a big bit of trouble. Alright. So here we're going to be able to talk to the robot and see if we're going to have to go to Ice Cave or not. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go to Ice Cave. Power Gauntlet, though. And a Mage Staff. Okay, so now we have a actual... an actual sweeper for our knight. That's good news. Power bonk! Yeah, so now I feel much better about our situation for killing power. Between the power bonk, temper, and gee, hopefully fast is level 7, because otherwise that means it's level 8, and I'm probably not going to get a cast of fast. So I really hope that we see fast here in Onrak. Otherwise I'm going to be a bit sad. Fast nuke? Nuke saber. Okay. Well, not 100% ideal, but... know the reason for it, but have you explained why you threw the power bonk and mage staff into slot 1? Okay, yeah, so the reason that I put my mage staff and my power bonk in slot 1 is because those are the items that I'm going to be using most commonly in combat if I go to the item menu to use items. So I want to have them at the top of the list or the bottom of the list to be accessible as quickly as possible. If something is in slot 1 or slot 5, it's pretty fast to access it. Or slot 1 or slot 4, rather. If something is in slot 2, it's not usually too bad. Slot 3 is a bit more annoying to menu 2. So I want to avoid that. And my headset is dying. Crying out loud. Stupid headset. Battery always gets low at the most inopportune times. Exactly, Farron. It's one of those, I'm trying to get it in there and trying to get it plugged in, but it's just not wanting to cooperate. Alright, so these long hallway chests are pretty free, so we're going to check those along the way. Again, we're mainly looking for a ribbon at this point. Everything else has kind of fallen into place. Gersharks are really good for experience points. That's why we're taking this fight. Gersharks Big Eye, as well as Gersharks with Wizzahags. Both of those fights can be very good. It's taking me a little bit longer to clear this fight than I would like. So maybe Gersharks aren't going to be that worth it because they rolled up 1 hit points. Part of that's also just I don't have a terribly great weapon. I'm doing okay with what I've got, but it's not amazing. That Sun Sword is going to do more damage than the Bane Sword, so that's the weapon that we're going to switch to now. Calling it out. First ribbon is going to be an Air 1. Left or right, though, Farron? So there's 2 rooms there. Because right side of Sky 1 is 5 chests, and left side of Sky 1 is 4 chests. So typically, if you're trying to go fast and are looking at just density, going right side is more optimal. Oh, you mean actual first floor Mirage, I see. So, ghosts do a lot of damage, but they're actually worth really good experience points. I guess decent experience points, not really good. Alright, so starting to look at how we're going to kill Kraken. I've got a Bane Sword and I've got 2 Brat Casters, so I'm probably going to rely on instant death. Kraken is, he's not weak to instant death from either Bane or Brack, but he also does not resist them, and he doesn't have great M-Def. So both of those spells have about as good of a chance as they have on Tiamat 1, even though Tiamat 1 is actually weak to those spells. All 3 ribbons in tow for validation chests. But Rom, there's only 2 validation chests in Topher. Or are you including the 2 on Carrie's floor, which I've never heard anybody call validation chests on those? Oh, Vanilla Mazmune chests. Yeah, thanks. That's definitely a place where I want to have a ribbon. I'm just telling you right now, we're gonna, go mode Topher with no ribbons before we actually check that chest. Okay, so as promised, Bane, Brack, broken to pieces. Done. Easy. Easy. Alright, so we have to go through Ice Cave. So we're going to go through Ice Cave on the way to Volcano. So we're going to go from here. We're going to go to Mirage. We're going to do Mirage and Sky. And then we're going to go into Ice Cave, pick up our loot. And from there, we're going to go ahead and go to Topher. Volcano and then Topher. Oh, this is not the fight I wanted. Not even a little bit. Ow. Boy, that hurts. That's a Sun Sword. That's not what I meant to use. Ah, crap. I keep forgetting to go get the X-Cal. Hey, how's it going, Grigglypuff? Thanks for stopping by. How you doing tonight? Okay, so there's a good number of chests on Mirage 1, and it doesn't take too long to open these chests. We're going to check these first. Also, I really want to get some nuke charges. So I really want to get some levels with my Black Mage before going too far into here. If we find Warmech, do we fight him? Maybe. If I'd already turned in and got the X-Cal, I might feel a little bit better about fighting him. But probably not. This table won't leave, so I can leave worms. Yes, Grigglypuff, I really do have my black belt danned. And the reason that the black belt is danned right now is because these flags are only up to 150% enemy stats. So I've decided that I'm going to leave the black belt dead and funnel the extra experience points into the other 3 members. Alright, so we're going to check less than, greater than. Again, we still really want some charges of nuke, some more spell charges. It really is unfortunate that we didn't get sweeper spells until much higher level. So we're kind of making do. Hey, there's a ribbon. There we go. Alrighty. So now we're going to try and climb this tower real fast. Because we have Thorhammer and Zeus Gauntlet, we're going to be using that to clear out guard fights that we get. Guards are with some decent experience points. See, I got 2,000 right there. Decent experience points. They don't have that many hit points, and if you have lightning magic, they're pretty good. Sleeper spells. Still don't have the floater in my seat. Felt kind of cold me. Oh, yeah, that feels bad. Are you still playing the one that was like a super doozy from the early game immediately? Oh, hi, Brack. World extended progression, so I'm literally taking the shipping canoe everywhere. Yep. Been there, done that. Okay, so we do have a nuke charge now. Yep, good thing we have swap potions. Yep, that's why I always pick up, if I can, a 10-pack along the way, because you never know when you're going to need them. Alright. So we're making our way there now. We're mid-level 20s. This is good. Again, I said we were going to get a lot of mid-levels as we were going through Mirage and Sky because there's some really juicy fights here. Stone Poison, not very nice. Fortunately, with that red mage having that ribbon, we're going to be a little bit safer for those sweeper spells from enemies. So, not too bad. Certainly still don't want to see it, but not too bad. So here we're going to check these 5 chests on the right, just because it's a good number of chests here. Nothing. Just like on Earth B4, it is faster to warp back to the center room here and be able to go on our merry way than it is to walk and take the extra encounters. So we're going to skip everything on this second floor chest. Nothing here is incentivized. There's not going to be any key items that we need. We are going to take Gurmadusa fights because Gurmadusas are juicy experience points. Yeah, that ice cave was disgusting, Greg Lupuff. A lot of props for actually getting through that. So again, at this point, we now have our endgame weapon. There's a second ribbon. Now we're feeling even better about our situation. Now it's really time to put the pedal to the metal and book it. So in the Sky Maze, it doesn't really matter matter which direction you go, as long as you go 2 in one direction and then 2 perpendicular. So 2 left, 2 up, 2 up, 2 left, 2 up, 2 right, 2 right, 2 down. Any of those combinations doesn't matter. Throwing out a couple of heal 2s here just to be able to be topped off. We don't want to run into a war mech and get swept by him. The flashbacks to the seed you had with the Badman having Thunder. Oh yeah, man. Badman with Thunder or Badman with Nuke, any of that is really terrible. Nachos. Looking like our robotic chicken friend isn't going to pay us a visit today. I'm not sure if I would fight Warmech at this point or not. Now that I have 2 ribbons, I might consider it. Broken into pieces. Yep, 2 for 2. First action Brack. Yes, exactly, Hype is. Taking on Warmech is a potentially really good source of experience points, but it is very dangerous. You have to keep in mind that Warmech does a lot of damage and will not hesitate to wipe your party. I finally found Provoca. I got Nuke and Ice 3 for Magic. Too bad Vicky gave me a Stop Sword. I mean, Greg Leapo's Stop isn't a bad spell. I wouldn't be too disappointed by that if you didn't have good early game options. Yes, remember to grab Expel before it's over. Thank you, J-Lo. So I'm throwing out sweeper spells here just because I don't want to waste time. I want these fights to just be over. I don't want to fail the run and waste a bunch of time letting these 9 enemies punch me in the face. Yeah, Gregory Puff, we've been making do with Level 1 stun, level 2 quad X, and level 2 confuse. That was our opening spells for the first 2 levels. So I was showing these guys, how exactly do you put those spells to use in the early game and still be able to get through it fairly easily. So this might be a good one to watch back later. Yeah, of course. Yep, I'm going to warp trick here. Random tiles strongly affect your standing decisions between fighter and black belt. So, Rum, the bigger thing that affects my decision making about whether or not to dan a black belt is looking at the percentages on a seed. In this particular flag set, the enemy percents were between 67% and 150%, and that's just not strong enough to make me feel like I need a black belt. So I would rather kill off the black belt and funnel that experience points into my other characters. Really, the earlier you get quad X, the more useful it is. Yes, absolutely. Because it is HP based, it is far more useful if you get it early rather than later. The big thing there, though, is early game. It is more important to have sweeper spells that can affect the entire enemy group, as opposed to spells that are single target, just to make the early game go a little bit faster. So that's why I say it's a little bit unfortunate. I love getting early quad X, and obviously we put it to really good use. We were one-shotting Hydras and Giants and Chimeras, but it definitely is one of those things where you would love to have Lit 3 or Ice 3 or Fire 3 in the early game to really, really get you going quickly. Worse than you about what, Gregory Puff? What did I do? What did I do? We're going to temper you. We're going to hold you. Okay, so here Carrie is weak to status magic, so we're going to throw out hold and try and paralyze her. The other thing you can do is try and confuse Carrie. The advantage about doing hold as opposed to confuse, well, that was a misinput there. The nice thing about doing hold as opposed to confuse is because it will reduce her evasion to 0, meaning I'll be able to do more damage to her. Question I've been meaning to ask: is there a point where you consider taking white mage over red mage? Yeah, I mean, if we saw Fade that was level 1 in the harm slot, that's the biggest thing to consider. Okay, do I want to take a white mage? And when you see a Fade or something in a slot where you can get it with a white mage, but you can't get it with a red mage, that is a reason to consider swapping strategies there. I would like to see more than just that Fade that prioritizes taking the white mage over the red mage, because like red mage is going to get more sweeper spells in general, so being able to distribute those between multiple levels is often a very nice thing to have. But certainly exclusivity of spells is something that that really makes you consider trying to take a white mage over a red mage. Often it will still end up being the case where the red mage will be very, very strong regardless. So not too big a deal. But also need fast level 7 or 8 temper as well. Yeah, unfortunately we have a situation here where fast is level 8. I'm pretty sure because I'm pretty confident that we've checked every other black magic shop besides the Gaia level 8 spell and the Lefane level 8 spells. So a little bit unfortunate that we don't get fast here, but it's okay. We're going to get the job done. We've got Power Bonk. Unfortunately, we don't have the defense sword either, so it's a little bit unfortunate that we're not going to have that. This is a lot of slimes. We're going to throw out some Fire 3 and Fire 2s just to clear these out. I don't want to be taking a ton of damage from these metal slimes. Try out Red Mage in the next Duckling Seed then. Yeah, and again, don't feel like because I'm doing it, taking a White Mage is wrong. I prioritize offense more than safety in these seeds. Generally, that's what's going to let you go a little bit faster. We have a very common saying here in Final Fantasy Randomizer where the best defense is a good offense. A dead fiend or a dead enemy deals no damage. The sooner you kill them off, the sooner that you eliminate the threats, the quicker it is that you're going to be into a safe spot again. So often I like the opportunity to kill the enemies as opposed to relying on healing back up. It often takes too much time to get the defenses going with a white mage, and by then you've lost some resources anyway. So I would rather go with a more offensive strategy. A lot more recently, probably because of the 5 systems in play. Yeah, and Red Mage and the Randomizer particularly is very, very strong. Because we don't often play with keep permissions, the Red Mage gets most of the spells that you would want out of the game. So Zap actually has a small chance of working on Lich. It's about a 22% chance, I believe, on Lich 2. We'll see if we can't land it. White Mage and Black Mage are kind of worthless in vanilla, at least for me. Fair enough. I mean, you don't learn the really good spells until late in vanilla, so it always kind of feels bad, right? So... Fortunately, Grey Worms are really not what we're wanting to see here. Unrunnable fights are just going to be a waste of time and resources. Fortunately, we've got some sweeper spells to be able to take out these fights, but I would rather avoid using too many of them on these early floors. I say early, even though there's only 2 more floors after this one with fights. Outside of Fiends, of course. We're going to go ahead and just swing here. I will temper up the black, or temper up the knight just a little bit, just to do a little bit more damage. Hold also can work on Carrie too. She is no longer weak to status elements, but she does not resist it either. So in a pinch, you can actually throw that out for some trickery. Yeah, Griggly Puff, you're not wrong, particularly about the defense in White Shirt. I would say that the Heal Staff and Heal Helm are too slow to be that useful. You're often going to be losing more hit points than you're gaining back if you're trying to prioritize using those items, which tends to keep me from using them in combat, but they can be used. Nope, nope, nope. Not a light axe. We want a Zeus Gauntlet. But what about Lamp? Such a good spell. Oh, come on. Get us out of here. These are really not the fights we want. Alright, so moving on. The water floor is always just disgusting. There's so many fights here, and they're always so bad. Oh my goodness. Get me out. Get me out. Finally. Okay, now we have our first real hurdle. We have Kraken 2 coming up. So we have to make some decisions here. So how do we want to prioritize our strategy? I'm going to make the conscious choice to leave the knight up front. Normal. Oh my goodness! And we found nuke. This is it. That's a wipe. So that's a problem. Okay. Well, that sucks. I'm not really sure what I can do, aside from hopefully avoiding those fights. Taking gas Ds for experience points is probably a good idea. If I can get a quick level or two here, I will go ahead and exit out and take those extra spell charges. Oh, except I used all my houses, because I'm an idiot. Okay, well, there's not much I can do about those waters, and they really, really like using nuke, apparently, because that was 3 for 3. Okay, so this is the problem that you run into sometimes. Actually, I really still want this experience points. Ice charges aren't super, super important, so I will take these. Yeah, Greggly Puff, you missed the fact that waters are super nuke happy. Waters have turn 1 nuke, and they love to use spells, so I got ambushed by a pack of waters, and it might not even have been an ambush. I just got hit by a pack of waters, and 3 nukes round 1. Yep, Rom is exactly right. This is kind of how it goes. So yeah, hype is. I mean, here's the thing though. Levels will only do so much to reduce the damage from nuke. If I get a large pack of waters and get bad turn order, it doesn't really matter how many levels I have. If they get 3 or 4 off before I can do anything, that's effectively a run over, even if it doesn't kill my knight. Because I won't be able to recover. Uh-huh. Yeah, Griggly, that is a very common encounter on the C revisit floor. So, I now know where to use nuke, because if we run into waters, I'm throwing out a nuke. A nuke or an ice 3, either way. So here I'm actually throwing out Zap because Mudgulls have very low magic defense. Yeah, nuke and pray, Farron. That's pretty much right. Thunder Happy Arcreeps, yeah, pretty much. Alright, so heal back up. I feel like this encounter table, at least down on this floor, is being very common. Very similar to what we had last time. I know it's different because the first time we went through here we didn't have so many Gasties. So I must be at a different spot in the encounter table. I just have to hope I get lucky and don't see very many water fights, if any. It really sucks that we got into a fight with those waters literally the tile before Kraken 2. Yeah, I mean, you are right that that is where one of the enemy nukes landed, and so the way it works is there is one enemy in the game in vanilla that casts nuke that we would say is not a boss. It is Evilmen. Evilmen in Sky Castle and the Era Revisited floor are the enemies in the base game that have nuke. So that is one nuke that gets shuffled into the pool of normal enemy fights. And then some of the fiends, Lich and Chaos, have nuke as well. So the fiend refights, Chaos and Warmech, there are 3 nukes in the pool of those 6 fights. So we now know which normal enemy has nuke, and we know that it's possible still that those 3 different nukes are still on the table for any of these fiend refights. I don't know whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, we haven't actually seen anything scary out of Carry or Lich, so everything is still on the table right now. Alright, so here we're going to go with Bane and Run strats, where we're just trying to thin the herd as we're running away and hopefully not waste time. Yeah, Gregory, I believe actually Lich 2 in vanilla brings 2 nukes to the table, and I believe it's Chaos that brings the other nuke to the table. Okay, so here we're going to go with a high offense strategy. I have to just hope that I can get through this fight very quickly. So we're going to be throwing out the tempers as fast as possible. First turn stop is not bad. I'm actually very happy to see that. Both of my tempers get off before my knight goes. That's also really good news. So now we're going to throw out our lit 2s on our spell items. Fortunately, we got some good damage rolls and good turn roll on this one, and we're through that. Body the first 2 so fast. Yeah, exactly. Both Lich 2 and Carry 2 went down very, very quickly, so I have no idea what's on the pool for those 2. We also did not see Warmex, so nothing's taken out of the pool for him either. Here we're going to go ahead and start off with doing some more bonks and tempers. Yeah, Lich 2 opens with a nuke, and I believe he's got a 3rd or 4th turn nuke as well, and I looked away from chat, and now my Black Mage is dead. Alright! So Brack actually can work in this fight. It has about a 6% chance to land and one-shot Tiamat 2. It also has the same chance to land on Kraken 2. I'm going to throw out some Cure 2 to just get my knight some more hit points, to just have to make sure I survive this fight. There we go. So here I'm going to bring back the black belt. I probably should wait until after I've already made it to Chaos's floor, but I want the black belt to be a meat shield for Chaos. Hopefully Chaos will decide to melee Dan and waste one of his turns throwing out a punch at somebody that doesn't really need to be punched. Now that I'm sure I've gotten through that floor without losing any characters, I'm going to go ahead and swap those characters up to the front, put the knight in the back, make it so that way there's as little chance as possible for the knight to get punched. We're going to throw out the heal staff. It's not really going to do much, but he doesn't have anything better to do. And here we're going to throw just all the tempers, all the power bonks onto the knight as fast as possible. So Zap doesn't manage to land on anybody. That's good news. Okay, so after 2 rounds of buffing, this is probably a done deal. I'm going to go ahead and start swing with my knight and start testing that absorb. We're going to throw out the few nuke charges that we have, and we're going to throw some spray and pray Bracks, because there's a 3 out of 256 chance that Brack will land and one-shot Chaos. We're doing a good bit of damage here, so now it's time to go pure offense. And despite being in the 4th slot, my knight is taking all the hits still, so that's cute. Remind me why I moved my knight down there? $476 damage, terminated. So there we go. 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 40 seconds. Not bad. Yep, Dan did eat an attack. He did his job. Yep, not bad, not bad. Hour 35 is a pretty average time for high-level play in a seed like this. Not super fast, but definitely not slow either. And for taking a wipe on Kraken floor, it's pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, thanks, Gregory. I appreciate it. And this will be going up onto YouTube, so if anybody wants to see the full video, it will be there. So I hope I did a good job of covering some different aspects about routing, giving you guys some pointers about kind of what levels I feel like are good levels to consider doing dungeons, whether that be Marsh Cave or Ice Cave or Ordeals. I know I went pretty fast, but does anybody have any questions, anything that they want to ask me? Maybe something I didn't cover as deeply as you were hoping I would?